Welcome to Not a Great Whisperer podcast. This is your host, Katie Ray, and I am joined with the legend, the myth, Kevin, the man, the myth, the legend. That's better. I said it right now. I said it right.
You just call me B-Man?
The man. The man.
B-Man, okay.
The man, the myth,
Love
the
it.
legend.
Hello.
Everyone knows Kevin. He's my producer, but also my right-hand gal. We do the Wander storytelling together. We do lots of fun things together. We also have Chris joining us as a guest, random speaker throughout this. It'll be mostly
Hello.
Kevin and I going back and forth, chatting, and he just might join in for fun.
I feel like I'm the myth and legend also.
Because we are doing another Zoom interview, quarantine, COVID 2020. We're going to get shirts made, hopefully. Kevin will get those made for us.
Yes.
So I wanted to have one about reopening the nation from different perspectives, and who better than Kev, owner of a small business, Katie, home with 3, and Chris, part of a corporation, to kind of chat about different perspectives in the matter, because I think anybody wants a small business to succeed, but to close down for, what was it, 6 weeks, Kev?
Yeah, 6 weeks total. Yep.
And even though your clients, some moved virtual and you helped them do that and you kept some, it was still a hit, correct?
Yeah, it was still a significant hit, actually, because we had to let go of team members, or furlough team members. And also, we had to stay home too. And so we didn't go to our office for, 2 months, basically. And we were not getting paid and, furloughing people. So yeah, it was a pretty significant impact.
And any time during that, did you feel like it was just time to close up shop?
Absolutely. Yeah. I would say that that feeling was right near the beginning, right? So it was kind of, we're going at 100% and all of a sudden we drop down to like 5%. And that can be said the same for revenue too, right? We're doing really well. And then all of a sudden at month end, we lose, 95% of our business to having to put contracts on hold, and that's difficult. So anyway, what was that?
I was taking a picture.
Oh, you were so damn cute. Anyway, I thought it was freezing again. Anyway, so it was pretty significant immediately. And so we thought, wow, how can we sustain? How can we keep going? How can we afford to pay our rent? How can we afford to pay our salaries? Because, both Brandon and I work in the same business. We're the same household. So we go from money to no money. That was pretty significant. So at first it was pretty devastating. It was even the first month it was pretty devastating, right? So when we hit April again, it was like, okay, well, there's nothing again. And then that was like the serious part of it. And then a few weeks in, we had a lot of people reaching out to us to be like, we haven't heard from you. Are you okay? We haven't heard from the business either. Is everything okay? And I kind of decided to do like an op-ed piece, right? To really focus on like, here's the reality. Here is actually how we're doing. And no, we're not okay at all, right? Our business is failing. We are not doing okay. Nothing is okay right now. And I'm thankful that I did that, because that was actually a big turning point in our own, journey, because it opened up our eyes to be like, get the fuck back up, and what can you do, right? You've worked too hard for this, so what can you do to make it through this, and how can you further support your community and your clients? And that was the route that we took.
I think that's a big thing too, is you are a same business household.
Yeah.
So with you and Brandon working same place, also running a household together, also married, like you didn't have one person going in, bringing in income like Chris and I had.
Yeah.
So he kept his job. Yeah. So that's like a hard hit, like double-sided. Like,
yeah, well, it's kind of, and I think that's why it was literally 0 to 100, right? Because it was like, okay, we have nothing. Now, we could have continued paying ourselves. We could have furloughed everybody immediately and just paid ourselves. But that wasn't an option. That's not how we function. That's not how we roll in our business. And so we held our personal paychecks and made sure that our team was paid out until we had to furlough them, right? So we literally could not pay them anymore. And we lived off of our personal savings. And so, that was also another impact. So what we had saved, we opened up our business from our own money. We didn't have an investor. We didn't take out any loans. We used our own money so that we didn't go into debt with our business and that we didn't have to answer to an investor, right?
Yep.
And so as a result of that, we had to build back our savings, which was pretty low. And then when this hit, we had to take it all, right? So that's what we lived off of. So now our nest egg is now depleting and we can't pay ourselves back. And so, and fortunately they had the PPP come out and opportunities for us. But even in that first month, the first round of PPP loans or the support that came up with the stimulus for small businesses didn't go to small businesses. They went to corporations. It went, and so we were cut out completely. So we had nothing. And so I think that, coming from a household that had both of us in it, it was devastating to go from zero or from 100 to zero, or
yeah,
zero.
You guys had your best month the month before everything happened, right?
We did. Yeah. And we've steadily been, increasing as we go. And December, January, and February were just outrageously great months. And then we took a dive to the point where we were like, well, how are we even going to pay rent?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a pretty,
So when they made the announcement, phase 1 and everything, were you just like, hell yeah, open everything up? Was there still any fear? Or were you kind of like, we don't really have
No, yeah. We didn't actually come back to our office until Monday of this week. And what was the date? The 18th, I think,
18th,
of May, right? And it's so funny too, because I walked into the door and we have a calendar in our lobby area, right? Which is like our little retail store will be. And on the calendar, the date read March 18th, 2020. And I was like, wow, it has been a full 2 months since I've updated that calendar, right?
Oh my God.
And it's funny that it literally was exactly 2 months that we had been out of our office. And, here's the thing. I don't know when it's time. I don't know when the right time is. I think like many people, I'm super scared of the unknown, right? And coronavirus is the unknown for me. Now, I know people who've gotten coronavirus, but I don't actually directly know anybody who's gotten it, right? And so do I just have the type of people in my life who have like really listened to quarantining and social distancing, like they've stayed away like we have? Maybe. I don't know. And so it's like elusive, right? It's like this thing that I don't know anything about it, which is terrifying because the unknown is what's fucking scary. And so I don't know when is right, but at my mind is like, well, at some point life has to get back, right? And I don't know that it's the most popular opinion because it's like, yeah, I would love to ride this out and stay home and, not, worry about whatever. But unfortunately, that's not what the U.S. government is doing. We're not like Canada. We are providing and supporting our citizens. That's not how the U.S. works, unfortunately. Yeah. And that's not.
I'll stay home if they're sending me a paycheck.
For sure, right? But that's not what our country does because our country is full of lobbyists and big pharma, and they want their piece of the pie. And that's just not what's happening. So, in order to do that, I do think that we have to open, and I think that we have to run us through the cycle of this. And I don't want that to be my opinion, but I don't know if there's another way.
I think that's the only way we can is guidelines, precautions, but still reopen. I think I'm at that level now, finally, after being home for 3 months.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and you had a little bit of a significant, head start because you did have you had a baby.
I had an early baby. So I was home with this small little thing. And then, I mean, Chris coming home every day, sometimes I'm like, whoa, what's it like out there? But I'm ready to get back into some type. But it's like, what do you screen your friends? Where have you been? Have you been hooking up with randos? Like, what do you do? Like,
I mean, I don't know if that's a bad question. I think that it's like, and here's what's shitty is that my first thought, even we're able to actually bring our team back on starting on the 1st of June, which is phenomenal. We kicked ass and got to a point where we can now do that again. But we saw one of our team members today, even though their first day back is June 1st, because we have a potential client meeting. And my first thought was like, where has he been? Can I hug him? And it's so shitty to, now be like her.
I know.
Shit, and it's not an idea that I ever, or a thought that I ever had before. And I can relate it back to like the AIDS crisis, right? In the 80s, where you didn't know if AIDS was, or HIV.
How was transmitted.
Thank you. If HIV was transmitted through touch, that you didn't know if somebody could spit on you and then all of a sudden you were sick. And, I think that there's just, it's very different, but it's similar in the idea of, I don't know how I can get it, right? I'm told I can get it by breathing it in. I can get it like through my eyeball now. Like, what the fuck? What is this thing? Like,
please
what
don't send me an eyeball article, please. I can't.
Like, what the hell? Yeah. And so it's scary because now you're looking at people and you're like, don't touch me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to some people, please don't touch me. And then the others, you're like, I really want to hug you, but I can't. I had to tell Jaden, 6 years old, you can't hug your kindergarten teacher. Just because it's just like, small. And he doesn't fight it, but I'm just like, wow, I sound like a shithead. Like,
totally. But you're also being, you're being safe. And it's like, well.
And I still want them to be able to go outside and do things, and nothing crazy right now, like zoo or Disney, but like they just getting out and being able to go to a park or just something, right? Because they get stir crazy like I do.
So of course they do.
And just like Chris said, he doesn't come home to crazy chaos with kids. It's a crazy wife telling him to strip down and take a shower.
Well, I get it. And
like, where have you been? Who's at work?
Where have you been? Take your clothes off. I think that those are, it's necessary. Our niece was living with us for the last year, and she actually moved out recently on her own, which is great. But before, she was working at Publix, right, which is in Florida is considered an essential business, right? It's an essential job, much like our nurses and much like Chris. And so they, we had her have a whole process of, making sure that she was wiping down the doorknobs and, doing that kind of stuff, because it's like, well, got to make sure we're safe,
Yeah, and how are you going to do, are you starting Headshot Day coming up and stuff like that?
Yeah, we're going to do one in June, I think. I actually haven't announced it because I just don't know,
Yeah.
On our Headshot Days, there's a lot of people typically, and there's hair and makeup, which is like touchy, and and I just don't know. So we have some headshots scheduled outside of a Headshot Day, that don't require hair and makeup, and that's great.
That's
but
different for you.
It's different. Yeah, it's a different type of photo shoot. And so, but I miss those high energy, I miss those events where it is like the Wander storytelling, right?
Gathering.
Where it is like just fun, and you're a collective group of people like experiencing emotion, and I so fucking miss that. And so, it's like, well, all right, so if I decide to, let's say like we decide to put on an event, and then it's like, well, are people going to come?
And are we going to check their temperature at the door? Like, what do we do?
Like, are they going to be nervous? I don't know.
Checking temp. Come on in. No problem. Yeah, like, what do you do to some of my friends who I haven't seen? I'm like, have you guys been right swiping or whatever they do on those things, on the dating apps? But it's like, what if you just like randomly met up with a random person? People are sexual beings. Like, I can totally be. What am I supposed to ask them? Like, please don't. Please stay 6 feet away from me.
Yeah, well, it's like, how many fucks did you have this week, and were any of them sick with coronavirus? Thank you.
It's not an okay question.
Is this allowed? I don't know. It's such a tricky thing, and phase. And now are we in phase? I think are we in phase 2 yet? I think we are. Right? Yeah, because gyms are opening up, and one of our clients is a yoga studio, and we're meeting with them today to talk about their opening. And my own personal gym is opening back up, and it's like, all right, well, I love to go to that, but the things that I enjoy about the gym, like, are those like, am I going to be able to exercise? Can I take a shower at the gym? Is the steam room open? Like, I don't, are those the things that make you get sick? I have no fucking
I know.
clue. So
I get it.
you know, so is my membership worth it? I don't know, you know?
I know. So what about some of your friends who own small businesses or clients? How, as small business being, I mean, I wouldn't call it thriving yet, but you're staying afloat and you guys are now going to be thriving now that we're reopening. What do you tell them?
Yeah.
I mean, have people closed that you know of already?
Yeah, I mean, we had there, you know, around Tampa Bay, there's been businesses that are closing. You know, there's also big corporations that are closing. I just read an article today about Pier 1. I'm thinking that they're closing all their stores. And I'm like, well, God damn it, I really like Pier 1, right?
Steak and Shake.
Yeah, States, yep. And then, no, obviously those are bigger businesses, but on a local level, you know, there was a coffee shop here called Foundation Coffee that closed pretty quickly, their location here in Tampa, and now they only have it in Riverview, you know, so they're an example. And I don't know their situation, but in my experience so far, it really came down to like how prepared you were for something that would be similar to this, right? And so, you know, we as a small business were lucky enough that we had money personally set aside, and we weren't overspending in the business either, right? We were pretty smart about money, which was better because it kept us afloat. So if you were a business that was operating on no money, I'm not sure how you would have survived this, you know, even with support. I think that probably is a pretty difficult thing, you know, because even though we did do it better, we still needed help for sure. You know, like there's no way that we could have, you know, started paying ourselves again on the 1st of May if we had not gotten a PPP loan. We just would not have made that happen. It also allows us to bring people back, you know, and that was the point of the initial iteration of that stimulus bill, was to help businesses like us. You know, and so it's good that they had that second round come out, you know, and that other big corporations have returned that money after backlash, you know, but so I foresee that people are going to be afraid to go out. We're not going to be back to where we were. And so I do think that we'll see other businesses shutting down, and, you know, we'll continue to push through and work as hard as we can so we don't, but, you know, you got to do what is best.
Yeah, but you do see your community come out when when you're honest and you're like, hey, we need some help. You do see people supporting you, which is always refreshing.
I agree. Yeah. Well, I think that, you know, there's a lot of power in honesty and vulnerability, right? And so, and relatability, right? If you are like that messaging, that post that I had put out, that I think, for me, it was speaking from my heart, right? It was totally digging down into my gut and just letting it out so people could understand where we were and what we were experiencing. And it was my hope that people would be motivated, not to help me, but to understand what companies are going through, what people like me who own a small business are actually going through with this. And I think that was the most powerful thing. That was the most messaging that I got from people, was really to say, like, that was so fucking relatable. Thank you. And I think that is what got me to be like, God, we're not alone in this. And, you know, there's so much power in admitting that you maybe need some help and taking help, and being totally transparent and honest and vulnerable. Right. And
owning you're going to have shitty days, right? Because you own a business.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You have and I think that building a community, and then it's getting hit you with Rona. You know, not everyone has a Rona fund, you know?
Yeah, no. And, you know, did we have necessarily a Rona fund or a fund for that? No. We were just lucky enough that we were kind of smart personally too, and had some money set aside that we could potentially live off of, you know? And initially we were like, okay, let's get this. We can do it. We can do this. And thankfully we did that, because we called our mortgage company. We called our car loan. We called our credit cards, and we were like, can we move our payments and skip a couple months? And thankfully, I think that in the initial phase, we did that. And so the impact was not as large.
Yeah. And you pull together for it. You can still feel shitty during it, right? But you still get your shit done.
Yeah. You're allowed to not be okay.
You're allowed. You are allowed.
Yeah.
I think for me as a mom being home, you're like, oh, you have to stay home, but I'm a gatherer too. I'm an extrovert, but hearing from my friends who are small businesses, and when Chris would come home and be like, we are servicing small businesses that are closing down. Like, these are people, like, this is how they live. Like, you're taking away, you're taking away their livelihood, or they put all their savings into their small business, or they did this. And, and you feel for them and you're like, well, shit, okay, we can go outside. We can order some takeout. We can. But it's scary because 100% it's because of the unknown, and it's because you don't know who to believe, and it's the articles that it could get in your eye, and you don't know what that looks like.
Like, oh my God, need to walk around with goggles now.
We did have an article that said semen could, it transfers through semen. So again, ask your friends who they are right swiping during.
Yeah, and just, make sure that there's not semen flying at you at random times,
Because when you go out, that happens like all the time.
Like you don't know when semen's going to land on your face. Ew, I hope that people do know when that's happening.
Well, our hope for you after this episode is you do know when semen's getting blown at you.
My hope for everybody is that they know when they know and agree to semen hitting their face. That is what I think.
When your podcast takes a turn for the worst, here we are.
Yeah.
Well, I know we have a hard stop today, but Chris, thank you so much for being a part of Not Agree this Thursday. Kevin Tydlaska-Dziedzic, the man, the myth, the legend. We appreciate you always giving us a little perspective of small businesses and what it's like to reopen our nation. I vote you for president.
Thank you so much.
And of course, you can find Kevin and myself at BK and Creative, KatyRay.com, at The Real K Ray. The Wander Storytelling. Kevin is amazing at everything he does, CEO of BK. So any small businesses listening, if you need help with marketing, a full marketing agency. So really anything you can think of, they can do. So we're thankful that you joined us today. And Kevin, again, as always, thanks for joining.
Love you, boo.
Love you. Bye.
Bye, guys.